Hello, once again, my name is Christopher, and this is a little presentation that I'm going to do to you talking about the guidelines, conventions, and legislation that comes with designing and creating and publishing a website. So, we'll get straight into it. Why have legislation? Well, guidelines are put in place to make sure that a website is accessible and that is that it's as accessible as it can possibly be, even under certain restrictions for different users. Now, we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit, but I'll just say what they are now. It's mostly to do with eyesight and hearing, which is why for a site to be accessible, it must be perceivable and operable, and that is all encompassing for all kinds of senses. It could be anything like missing limbs and any amount of stuff it can be, but as long as a website is accessible to any kind of user, then it is not breaking a law in any way. So the more accessible the website is to people, or a website is to people, the more likely it is to get more hits, which means a growth in popularity. It's kind of an easy formula to go by. The factors of accessibility. When designing a website, one has to take into account how the website will be used once it goes live to the public. There are a number of questions that web developers need to ask themselves when putting a website together. How will it be viewed? Now, this can be any number of ways in terms of, is it on a PC, is it on a Mac, is it on a phone, a smartphone? How will it be viewed by people? Do the users have any disabilities? Uh, if so, which there always are, um, they need to make sure that they are doing their best to compensate for something like that. For example, if you have poor eyesight, then you need to make sure that the website that you're looking at has pastel colors, that they're muted, and that everything is easy to look at so that it's not too strenuous on your eyes and that you can't see it. And the next thing as well for accessibility is, are my audience a specific demographic? Now, for this particular sort of course, there would be no specific demographic apart from clients who maybe want to look for someone to, I don't know, do photography, record music, something like that. Other things though, like businesses would want to look more at stuff like demographics in order to play to their strengths. The legal elements of web design. There are some legal implications that a developer needs to account for when creating their website. Most notably the Data Protection Act of 98, the Disability Discriminations Act of 95, and the W3C validation. The W3C validation we will get into a little bit later. So it's important that developers take steps to change their website in conjunction with these laws if they've made it in any way difficult to access for certain people, or if the site does not conform to the certain stipulations set by the acts put in place by the government. So, but being accessible is not just about legal implications. Enabling more people to use your website increases sales. Enable your brand across a wider range of technologies and environments. That's specifically from a business point of view, although you can sort of create your portfolio into a brand as well and get it recognized. An accessible site is generally faster, leading to reduced hosting costs, so it just becomes more economically viable. An accessible site is generally more search engine optimized, leading to increased brand visibility. Back to W3C now, it stands for the World Wide Web Consortium, which is essentially a company that develops standards for code on the web. If you're going to use WC3 validation, it means that you're making sure that your website is up to coding standards set out by the Wide Web Consortium. It checks the HTML code for proper markup. It is responsible for standardizing HTML and releasing updated specifications that revise existing tags, introduce new tags, and identify depreciated tags, and should be the first reference point for any matters concerning HTML. So talking about HTML, why should we use it? It's the language for describing the structure of web pages. It's basically the language of the internet that they all use, so that no matter what country you're in, you can use HTML and you can access any website on the internet. It gives the authors, HTML, gives the authors the means to publish online documents with headings, text, tables, lists, photos, and other things as well. retrieve online information via hypertext links, design forms for conducting transactions with remote services for use in searching for information, making reservations, ordering products, include spreadsheets, video clips, sound clips, and other applications directly in their documents. With HTML, authors describe the structure of pages using markup. The elements of the language label pieces of content such as paragraph, list, table, and so on. So a little roundup of the basic requirements needed for an accessible website. It needs to be perceivable, alternatives for non-text content, and use captions and alternative tags. It needs to be operable, so there needs to be keyboard navigation. Timing of moving content can be adjusted. You know, you need to cater for things like epilepsy, and you just need to make sure there's good code. And you need to also make sure the most simple thing probably is that it's understandable. Don't open new windows without, pre-warning the user. Don't change the focus from what is expected. Don't change like the structure of pages so that it's like random from page to page. Try and keep it as concise and similar as you can. Form input assistance and put in error handling. So a summary, accessibility is for everyone. People use the web in a variety of different ways and in a variety of environments. There's more than just legal reasons to make your sites more accessible, and accessibility should not be an integral part of the whole process. Not just a checklist or an afterthought, but it should be an integral part of the entire thing. Thank you.